Oh my gosh, you guys. Can you guys hear me? I've literally got Star Wars going on under my deck, and you're not even gonna believe this. So we all know that stars backwards is rats, right? So I finally found how these rats were getting under my house. If you haven't already checked it out on my Facebook, I uploaded a bunch of pictures, got with the trail cam. I stuck the trail cam under the deck. You guys, there were armadillos. There were rats. I even identified the rat. It's a Norway rat. The thing weighs about 2 pounds. They're under my house. They're under the deck. They're everywhere. And this rat is having fun. It's literally frolicking around, like jumping and frolicking and playing. Then I found like the spoon that I was scooping them out of the bucket with. The rat literally dragged the spoon all the way under the house, and so I shined a flashlight under there, I could see the spoon. I'm like, "How did that spoon get 10 yards under the house?" Well, the rat drug it under the house. I'm like, "What is going on here?" So, I finally found the hole. It's in the corner underneath the deck. They forgot to put the skirting on, and it's just big enough for a rat to get in, and not just a rat, a Norway rat, which is, those huge, disgusting brown rats with the huge snout. They look like a miniature, what are those called? Al- Pacabera or Albera or what are those things called? Nutra rat. Looks like a Nutra rat, but like a small version. I can't even deal with this right now. So it's like Star Wars under the deck. And then I put some, those traps, the cages. So I ordered a couple of those cages, the ones where they go in and they step on the little pedal and then the door closes in behind them. And I stick that down there and you could see the rat on the camera just looking at it going, "Huh, peanut butter. Oh well. I'll get that later." I'm like, I can't even deal with this. But at least I found the hole and I can plug it. I had to pull up one deck board to get to it because I can't crawl under there. It's too tight. So I'm one deck board and I'll be able to plug this hole. I'm a little bit upset at my contractor because he assured me, "Oh no, we sealed it up tight." I mean, he's a good guy, but they obviously missed, very huge part of this. And so, yeah. So anyway, let's get into these headlines today. You guys didn't come here to hear about my Star Wars, but by now you've seen the thumbnail or you haven't. Rebecca informed me that the thumbnail is not visible from the thumbnail is not visible when you come to the channel. But essentially, one of you in the comment section, you saw that Operation Warp Speed, right? That was what Trump named it to make the V. When you scramble that, the acronym for Operation Warp Speed is "We prepared a poison tea." We prepared a poison tea. Now, what does the T stand for? Well, one of you thought that it might stand for the T virus. It's pretty interesting some of these acronyms that we found over the last 10 years, right? It was kind of an early research technique we used to kind of get down to the meaning of these things. There's actually some kind of thing that the occult does where they spell things backwards and they scramble letters and acronyms. All these things mean something. And so this is why we were looking into it and applying it to certain studies that we did. And we found some pretty profound stuff. Here's another pretty profound acronym. Peter Thiel, his name scrambles the reptile. So that's pretty bizarre. Again, we can't say 100% that these were intentional connections, but when you put together the rest of the puzzle pieces, it begins to form a picture, doesn't it? So, the poison T. What is the poison T? Well, I don't know. But T is the 20th letter of the alphabet, which just so happened to be the year that Operation Warp Speed completed its mission, I guess is what we can say, right? So times are getting very weird, aren't they? Now, yesterday's Simpson show came under attack midstream. That's why we dropped off so quickly. We got booted offline, which was weird because how do they have control of my internet? But my internet went offline. And then when I rebooted my computer, I saw that it was hit with multiple copyright notifications. Now, they weren't strikes, but there were notifications. Even though we were skipping through that video, we didn't play any sound. We had it in slow motion. And literally, the algorithms picked it up. And somehow, the algorithms were able to go into my internet and turn it off. How does that happen? Now, let's get into some of these stories today. It's weird times, you guys. Now, I'm not saying I believe this next story about a cannibalistic ICE detainee reported by Kristi Noem, but let's look at the story behind the story, okay? Kristi Noem literally, and I'm going to play this for you, literally got into a news conference and literally said that they picked up a cannibal. What's this all about? Noem said a cannibal tried to eat himself on ICE deportation flight. Here's what we know. Again, not saying that I believe this story out of hand, but what are they talking about here?
Home, and while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself of the American people first. And the way that you never lose focus on making sure that America stays our priority and that the families that live here get the chance to grow up and to raise their children in communities that are safe. And they give them an opportunity to pursue the American dream. This facility here is a fantastic representation of what.
Now, this is all about this facility being open, and here's where the plot thickens. We've been talking about zombies, haven't we? Related to the pandemic, disease, and cure. In the movie I Am Legend, which also claimed to have a cure. Well, we made some pretty profound connections, didn't we, to what might be coming with all this talk of rabies pellets. Now we have squirrels attacking people. Now, squirrels aren't supposed to be able to get rabies because they're rodents, but it's extremely rare. Imagine you guys have thousands of squirrels running around all day long. Imagine if half of them were rabid and you go outside and you're literally attacked by a gang of squirrels. You guys have seen the videos. One of them is going viral. Guy's out on his deck and some squirrel comes up and climbs up the guy's leg. It's attacking him. It starts biting his dog. A rabid squirrel. They're building all these detention facilities. What do you think these are really for? We're going to get into how much money. $50 billion. They are building prisons. Who are they going to put in these facilities? Is this the beginning of the zombie apocalypse? Are they preparing for something that they know is coming? I don't know the answer to that, but it's always good to talk about these things so that we're prepared. The Bible said there are things coming on the earth that will cause people to literally freak out. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but you guys all know the verse. Let's keep playing this, you guys.
Can happen when all of government works together and when it's accountable to the taxpayers and to the citizens that live here. The president signed an executive order that allowed us to build partnerships with states and with local law enforcement officers, which is exactly.
Let's get to the part she's talking about here.
And to be a part of their economy and help their countries grow. So this is a win-win for everyone. Our ICE officers and our Border Patrol, socialists and Marxists do CNN. I'm calling you out because you lie every single day in the country because Joe Biden These are the kind of deranged individuals him on a plane in the country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention.
So this is a fear tactic. They're floating a scenario. They're floating an archetype so that when it actually happens in mass, they'll say, we told you guys, this is all because of the illegals. They brought this into our country.
These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country.
Oh, yeah, we're targeting cannibals. These are the people we're going after. Forget about the Lady Gagas of the world. Forget about the bloodbath music videos that our own Hollywood is creating. Forget about all that. Oh, it's these deranged individuals. Let's look at Trump's face while she's talking about this, because oftentimes you can get clues to this. Like, obviously, Trump was briefed on what she was going to say.
Because on our partnering with jokers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets and getting them out of this country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country because they are so deranged they don't belong here. And they shouldn't be walking the streets with our children.
Kind of is like the kettle calling the pot black, right? What are your guys' thoughts on this? Are they floating an idea that is coming? Is this why they're building $50 billion worth of detention centers? You guys, this is insane. And maybe this whole deportation thing is a big pretend game. It's to basically run cover to justify all of these detention centers they're building. We're going to talk about it because it's in the budget for Trump's big, beautiful bill. Lots and lots of more spending on the illegals. Let me get your guys' reaction about that, and then we'll get into Diddy. Of course, you guys have all heard by now. Yes, I believe the Christian prosecution is coming. Trump's already setting the stage, threatening to jail people who don't agree with him. Not people who have done crimes, not the deep state. He's not saying, oh, yeah, we've got 25 people on a list of the deep state that were running the country when Biden was half asleep, and they're all going to get put in jail and deported or whatever. No, he's not talking about them. He's talking about anybody who disagrees with him or anybody who has differences of opinion. Elon Musk, anybody who says anything bad about Trump. Oh, we'll just deport you. You guys, this is weird. When have you ever heard a president talk like this? And still, no Epstein files, still nothing. No arrest for the deep state. So where is the deep state? Did they just disappear? No, there should be records of this. There should be records of who was running the country when Biden was in office. I mean, what do you guys think about this? To me, it's clear as day that there's a huge cover-up again. Again. When is Trump going to name the deep state? So what's going on with Diddley? Diddley do it? Well, apparently, John Diddy Combs has been exonerated for the most part. Now he's going to have to do a little bit of time. 2 of 5 counts. Acquitted, though, of the most serious crimes, sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Now, we talked about this. As soon as we knew he was indicted, I said, well, if they don't uncover all the people connected to this, then it's a big nothing sandwich. And I told you the people that showed up to these parties did so willingly. And unless they can prove, which is very hard to do, it's very hard to prove that he was drugging people and all these things, unless they went and got a blood test, right? Unless that person went and got a blood test, there's no proof that Diddy was drugging people, even though we know he probably was. But again, you have to prove these things in court, don't you? So the fact that a lot of these people didn't even go get a test afterwards tells you that a lot of this was happening willingly, or at least they're letting him off the hook for the promise of fame. And to me, that's just as bad. When you let people do crimes to you because of one reason or another and you don't report it, that's not good because you just allow the problem to continue on. It continues on to other people. When something happens to you, you need to talk about it and tell people about it. This is a problem in America. People, and they say, "Oh, we were afraid." Uh, we have witness protection. We have all these things, right? And the best thing you can do is go public. So to me, that thing of I was just afraid, that's just an excuse. You find proof, you go to the police, here's the proof. I went to the hospital, this drug was in my system. I was at this party, here's the text messages. And then you're protected at that point because if anything happens to you, they're going to know exactly who did it. But here we are in 2025, and essentially, he got off on most of the counts. I think he got 10 years or should get 10 years, probably get out in 5, good behavior. They did not let him post bail, so he's still in jail. I guess he got on his knees and prayed afterwards. And once again, was anything revealed by all this? Just like the Epstein case? Was anything uncovered? Was a trafficking ring uncovered? Children and everything else that was going on with this? No. So again, it's a huge cover up. Wow. Now, what's going on with Walmart? Well, when I first saw this headline, I'm like, wow, vanishing Walmart workers overnight. I'm like, did they get abducted by aliens? Just kidding. No, what happened was Trump's ICE raids, everyone's freaked out. So a bunch of people that worked at Walmart are not showing up to work or getting laid off or getting cut. Staffing cuts sweep through stores nationwide, reportedly driven by changes to immigration, work authorizations, and legal uncertainty. Just so happens Walmart is also ramping up drone deliveries. I wonder if there's going to be like robots filling orders in warehouses as well. Who knows? This is so creepy, you guys. 2025, the year of AI, the year of robots, drones, the rise of the technocracy, Terminator. We are on the brink of Terminator. All they have to say was, oh, the drones went out of control. They became self aware. The algorithm decided that people were the threat to the world. There's nothing we can do. It's all set up to blame the fall guy or the fall bot, we should say. So that's what's going on with Walmart. Now, here's a weird story. I like to cover some of these random stories that a lot of truth channels don't cover. Trump made a bizarre request at the hospital after the fake assassination attempt. Donald Trump asked the doctor treating him for his gunshot wound last July if he could have a CT scan image because it's like an IQ test, according to a new. Are you kidding me? Wow, that's random. He wanted an IQ test of his brain. Brain scans are used to detect tumors, bleeding, or other abnormalities. Huh. Weird. What do you guys think that's about? Now, for those of you that are on Twitter, apparently Twitter went down. It was a big deal. X goes down. Did Elon finally kill Twitter? I think the inference here that they want you to believe is that Trump had something to do with this, that he shut Musk down, the second black eye. Americans users were unable to post or see new posts in their timelines on Wednesday, morning, that was yesterday morning, thousands of users reported X was not working for them on Wednesday morning, with users unable to post or search on Elon Musk's social platform. So the inference here is Trump is taking it to Musk as the battle of the billionaires continues. Did you guys have problems on X? Let me know in the chat here. Now, I got some good news for you guys. People are not, they're pushing back on Real ID. Remember Real ID? Well, apparently, a lot of people are not complying. They're just done. They're pretending that they don't know what's going on, even though it's been all over the news, and they're just not complying. It's not really being enforced. Let me see. Let's go to that story here. Real ID deadline has come and gone, but nobody seems to know or care what's going on. Awesome. Real ID is officially required to fly in the U.S. Now, why do I say awesome? Because the last country that required a national ID was Nazi Germany. This is a clear encroachment of your privacy. You should not have to ID yourself to your government unless you're a felon or have committed a crime. Criminals, felons are the ones who lose their right to an identity because they have to be tracked to make sure they're not going to commit additional crimes. But if you are a law abiding citizen, you fall under the Constitution of freedom and privacy. You shouldn't have your face printed. You shouldn't have your finger printed. You shouldn't have your retinal scan printed. You shouldn't have your voice recorded and put into a database so that you can be tracked and traced. That's not American. That's China. This is very difficult for conservative people to wrap their brain around. I fight this fight every day and debate with people about this, and they just don't get it. The first response I get is, we have to do this for the illegals. The second response I get is, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care? Okay, just because you don't own a gun, do you want the Second Amendment to be removed? Do you want everyone else to lose theirs just because you don't own a gun? No, it's part of our Constitution. So it's like people are just willingly giving up their rights. And this is a basic right, the right to privacy. I even have a problem with your property being listed for anyone to look up. I have a problem with that. It's called private property for a reason. People shouldn't be able to look up your property. It's private. Real ID is officially required to fly in the US, but enforcement is inconsistent. Confusion is rampant, and most travelers seem totally unbothered. Wow. May 7th was the deadline. Supposed to be a big deal after nearly 2 decades of delays. Now, the person in charge of this, that Trump's real IDs are, I forget who it is, they basically said they're not enforcing it right now. They will, but they're making it look like we got a win, but we really probably didn't. Now, let's get into this bill, the big, beautiful bill, the OBA, which means king, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the OBA, says would supercharge Trump's immigration crackdown. And here is the zinger. And we're going to end the show today with this. Here we go, you guys. The militarized police state under the cover, under the Trojan horse of immigration. They're practicing everything. We've got Reaper drones flying on American soil, looking at people's faces, Americans and non-Americans alike, because everybody's in the crowd, right? They're not just, the algorithm isn't just going, oh, can't look at that person. That's an American. Oh, okay, there's an illegal. We'll look at them, and they're turning the camera on and off. Do we really think that's happening? Do we really think that's happening? They don't even know who the illegals really are and who aren't. They have to identify the person. So American citizens are having their faces identified through facial recognition with algorithms from military drones flying on American soil. You guys, sometimes I wake up and I wonder how many people are really, really awake to this. Why do people not have a problem with this? Oh, it's necessary, Casey. It's necessary. Well, remember those words in 5 years. So, part of Trump's big, beautiful bill crackdown on the illegals is $46 billion for the border wall and detention facilities. It's the lion's share of his overall funding that he wants. There's also $6.2 billion for surveillance. That's all the AI stuff, drones. They're hiring tens of thousands of agents. Do you see the progression here, you guys? We went from the Patriot Act, Department of Homeland Security. Then we had a pandemic where they were able to exercise their newfound rights under the Patriot Act to dig into your medical privacy, track and trace, all of which needed huge networking power. So Trump's like 5G, 6G, and beyond. See how it's all connected? And now here we are with a further expansion of the Department of Homeland Security with border security. $6.2 billion. They call it screening and surveillance technology, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other innovative technologies. They don't name the other innovative technologies, but if you had to guess, it's probably something like China does. Casey, what's the other option? You ready? I'm going to give you a clear and concise answer after we finish this article. 100,000 to 200,000 beds, rivaling the entire federal prison system capacity and funding, according to this article here. Now, what is the answer? I already told you guys the answer. It's the elephant in the room. The answer was and always has been you pull the benefits. You go after the employers all the way down to the guy trying to save a buck by hiring illegals to mow their lawn. You write citations. And pretty soon, everybody fires the illegals that are working for them because they don't want a citation. They don't want to pay a $5,000 fine because then they would lose all the benefit that they got from hiring the illegal. All the cost savings that they got would be gone with one fine. And then guess what? With no work, these people would all go home. You don't need to do biometrics, retinal scans, ankle bracelets, fly Reaper drones, bring in the National Guard, the Army, the Air Force, the Marines. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. You don't need to do all that. That's a show of force. You don't need to do all that. All you have to do is penalize the employers who are enabling these people to come here. They come here to work. Go after the employers. Now, Trump has started to pretend to go after the employers, but he still has only fined maybe a dozen or two employers with all these raids. There should be just as many fines as there are people deported, in my opinion. That's the answer. Everything else they're doing, you guys, is just practice for the rest of us. And today's group is going to be legals, and tomorrow's group is going to be domestic terrorists, and the next group is going to be people who say anything bad about a certain club, the juice club, we call them. And then the day after that, it's going to be people who don't show up to get their smack the nations when maybe a Democrat is in power and says, oh, it's mandatory now. If you don't do it, we have you identified. We've got your biometric scan. You see where all this is headed? I hope you do. I really hope you do. You guys do. But anyone who just randomly picks up this video, I hope you're thinking about all these things. We didn't need to go the route that Trump did with all this technology. It's glaring. They're literally going warp speed on the technology, you guys. Now, I know a few people who are not here legally. And they're basically, now you guys can confirm this. For anyone that's not here legally, they are literally making it mandatory that all illegals come in to be biometrically identified. Why isn't the mainstream media talking about this? Why isn't the mainstream media talking about these mandatory immigration appointments and these letters these people are receiving with their last known address, telling them to show up to get biometrically probed? You guys, I'm even hearing stories that they're scanning people's skin. They're literally doing body scans on you, like a 3D body scan to pick up all of your freckles and your tattoos and scars. You guys, this is getting dystopian. This is just getting weird. Now, do you guys know any illegals who or people that aren't American citizen, we'll put it that way, because they're even asking, people who are here legally that are like naturalized or whatever, or have a green card, they're having to come in and get biometrically identified as well. Yes, mandatory chipping and GPS tracking for non-citizens is coming. I agree with that 100%, Brian. It's not quite here yet, but this is what they'll do first. They're going to test it all out, and then within a few years, it'll be the rest of us. Yes, like a Terminator movie. Now, I wish that I was hyperbolizing today, but I'm not. We all knew this was coming. I told you guys that Skynet was self-aware and that the Terminator scenario was coming, but I never, ever thought it would be in 2025. The No Kings movement should have been the huge clue, because literally they were using artificial intelligence and drones, sentry drones. Literally, Terminator was in the skies. The only thing missing was they weren't weaponized at that point. They were just surveilling. But it's coming. It's coming. So, yes, they're testing on the low-hanging fruit. They're testing on the people they know they can get away with it with, who don't have any American rights. But what about their right as a human being? So, Palantir and other AI labs having their executives sworn into the military, people questioning what's coming and their motives. Yeah, Palantir was a CIA company. You guys, CIA is supposed to be foreign, not domestic. So, all right. All right, you guys. Well, I love each and every one of you. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll likely see you guys tomorrow. I'll put links to all this, and pray for me to catch this rat, this massive rat. I'm going to go pull up the deck now and take care of this hole. I just want to get him out from under the house. I don't want him to die under there, because it will smell for days. All right, you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Much love.